Welcome to Travel Time, and my name is Cheryl, and this week's guest is Jerry Jacobson from Fergus, and he went on to a very adventurous trip to Australia recently. Hi, Jerry. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, glad to be
Now,
here.
where do we begin on your, how long were you, was it 30 days you were gone?
Actually, we were gone 6 weeks.
6 weeks. So
Yep.
you had traveled with your wife the first couple of weeks. You went over, I guess you're going to have to tell the viewers how you started, because you traveled all throughout the country.
Yeah, well, we attempted to see the whole country, but I think we only saw about a third of it. I think you'd have to have about 3 or 4 months in order to see the entire country, because it is the same size as the continental United States. It's a very big country.
And a lot of it is like the eastern part of Australia, it's very tropical, and then the western towards Perth is very desert, correct?
Yeah, the East Coast is very lush vegetation, a lot of sugarcane, banana plantations, and it's it's a very pretty part of the country. It's similar to our East Coast, except minus the population and all the city.
And their weather too, is their weather on an average of, like, their winter is in our summer, correct?
Right. Yep.
And it's, do they get extreme winters like we do?
Not really. Sydney, which is the city that we flew into, is the same latitude as Los Angeles. So they really don't have, the winters that
the
we...
cold zones that we have, the harsh weather. They just have...
Exactly. It's pretty mild.
So it's pretty mild, and so
Yep.
so then on the eastern side where it's tropical, it's rainy.
Well, actually, when we were down there, it wasn't the rainy season the first 2 weeks that we were there. It rained occasionally, but not much. Australia is going through a drought right now, an entire continent, so they're getting a lot less rain than they normally would get. But still, the East Coast, is still
lush, and
lush,
botanical gardens is one thing to see.
Yes, all of the major cities, and there's about 5 or 6 major cities in Australia, and that's it. They have a population of 20 million people, and that's it, and most of them do live in these big cities. But all of the large cities have botanical gardens, beautiful. You could walk an entire day and not see the entire botanical garden. Sydney, just beautiful, next to the Opera House, overlooking the harbor.
So with all these millions of people, what is the way to travel throughout?
Well, Australia has great public transportation. Within the city, they have light rail and bus service, so it's easy to get around. The other way to travel, of course, you can fly from city to city, or they have good bus service throughout Australia from city to city, and train travel. We basically tried them all. Their train system is not an Amtrak. It gets you there, but the comfort is not
So yeah,
there.
when you went from the East Coast, from Sydney to Perth, that's when you did your train experience,
right.
Correct?
We took buses part of the way to Adelaide, and then we caught a train in Adelaide to Perth, and that was about a 3-day trip. And again, it was okay.
Do they have sleeping cars?
They do, but
as
again,
first-class travel, or
that would be sort of the first-class travel.
Is that expensive to travel?
Not really. It's really not much more expensive to travel than in the States. The only thing I found that was really expensive in Australia is food.
What did you say, a cup of coffee?
A small cup of coffee, whether it was McDonald's or wherever you got it, it was about $4 for a very small cup of coffee.
Very small.
Yes.
And then, didn't you say a lot of the Australians they eat meat pies? It's...
Right. Yeah, that's quite common to see those wherever you go.
So the food it can be expensive. So tell our viewers what you thought. Now, Australia is beautiful in all the sense of from one coast to the other. What did you like best in Australia? Which area?
Well, I like the East Coast. I mean, just because of the lush vegetation. The further west you got, it was pretty dry. And I don't think the scenery is quite as beautiful. It was like going western United States, where you see a lot of sage and not much for mountains and lakes, that sort of thing.
And is that the area where I understand you went scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef?
Yes, Cairns was one of the places where we stayed the longest, I think, in Australia. It's my favorite city. It's about the size of Moorhead. It's the gateway to the Great Barrier Reef, and yes, I did get to go scuba diving, and that was my lifelong dream, was to do that. So, and of course, going to Australia.
Well, as you see, Jerry traveled to Australia. He was there for 6 weeks. We could talk for a long time just discussing the country. Please stop in here at Travel in the Washington Square Mall, and we can show you some Australia trips that we have set up for the next season. Jerry, thanks for coming in, and I understand I'm waiting for some of that maple syrup that I understand you do in Vegas. So maybe you'll stop in and our viewers can visit with you on Australia. And thank you for coming. And we're located in the Washington Square Mall. Our telephone is 847-9231, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5.